Got an idea for a podcast and think you have the talent to make it a reality? Already have a podcast but been thinking you could take it up a notch, but you're just not sure how to do it? Well, Toxic Entertainment has everything you need to go from podcasting to podcasting. Bring us your talent, your passion, and your best ideas. We'll bring to the table our state-of-the-art technology and comfortable facility, creative and professional staff dedicated to bringing your ideas to life, competitively priced packages to suit your goals and budget, and over 10 years of experience as a leader in the podcasting field. Toxic Entertainment offers quality and affordability that can't be beat. When you're ready to start your journey, Toxic Entertainment is here to help you reach your destination. Learn more at toxicentertainment.net or call 888-66-TOXIC to arrange a studio tour. That's 888-66-86942. Toxic Entertainment, where creativity meets passion. Does the real world seem unsatisfying?
It's boring, but it's part of my life.
Well, time to level up and reboot reality. Join Toxic Mike and Demonoid as they explore the ever-evolving world of virtual reality and everything it has to offer. Whether you're just starting out or you've been there from the beginning, Reboot Reality will introduce, educate, and guide you to the best in VR. Find it wherever you get podcasts at toxicradio.net or on the free Toxic Radio app. Reboot Reality. Log in and get immersed. All sports talk shows are the same, right?
I am bothered by everything.
You gotta go back to football school.
The goal on this guy, it's just immeasurable.
Wrong. In a world filled with talking heads more interested in their own celebrity than actually knowing the sports world, it's hard to find the people who really care about sports first. Look no further. Wire to Wire has it all covered. These guys have the knowledge and the cred to back up their opinions. No hot takes to get attention, just straight up opinions. Know anyone else who correctly called the 2020 World Series and March Madness? How about 70% on the NFL and NCAA football last year? You don't. Bottom line, these guys know their shit. They aren't doing it for attention, they're doing it for passion. Wire to Wire. Live every Wednesday, 8:30 Eastern, only on Toxic Radio and wherever you find podcasts.
Oh, God, he's dancing.
I'm going to dance all day. I feel good. Real quick, before we do any intros, like we'll do intros in a minute, but do you guys listen to these commercials beforehand? They literally have, do you listen to commercials beforehand? Toxic Radio's commercial that they have in the beginning where they say they're creative and professional staff. Them motherfuckers are the furthest thing from professional ever. I know, I love them. Mike and Jamie are awesome, but they're not professional. That's a lie.
Coming for throats early in the show.
I'm your host, Gene Walzak, the NFL genius. Also, the Ponies, Prince, P. Gene A.
Oh, Lord.
Gene Walzak. To my right, I got the man, the myth, the legend, the uncle, Shally.
We're off the rails early this week.
We're going to get off the rails all night. This is what we do now.
Off the rails.
It's like a new thing.
All right. Like train wrecks.
Gracing us with his presence this week after a hiatus is Kent State's own, Cleveland's own, Columbus, Ohio's own, College Cottrell.
That is quite the mouthful there, Gene.
Whoa. Relax with mouthfuls, all right?
It's not what she said.
We're getting off the rails already. Listen, Rich wants to know if he can get a quick price on a Watts 3/4 009.
About $300, and you can have it probably like November when they come in.
All right, so we got a ton to get into this week. We got the NBA Finals, and we will start there.
Is that Rich or Brandon?
Richie
Tar. That's Mr. LaSalle.
Mr. LaSalle. Well, we got the NBA Finals. We have UFC. We got the Ponies. We got the Phillies. And for the first time, we're really going to dig into the Deshaun Watson situation.
Popcorn.
And not dig in like the other 62 women did. But let's get started with the NBA Finals. 66. I was off by 4.
We pride ourselves on accuracy on this show.
Accuracy. But I have the winner for the Belmont Stakes, so if you would like to win money just like you did on the Preakness, I've already envisioned a winner. I'll give you a hint. It was my childhood nickname. That's who I'm going with. But we got to talk about the NBA Finals. One game apiece. And I feel like what we're looking at is you still don't know. You might know. Cottrell might know. I still don't know. Here's what I'll say. Game 1, Marcus Smart, Derek White, Al Horford. They probably won't replicate that again. Game 2, Marcus Smart, Robert Williams, and Al Horford. They probably won't replicate that again. You know, you go from like just killing it and being like superstars to game 2 being really humbled and scoring 2 points each. Your thoughts, Cottrell? I haven't heard from you. I'd like to hear it from Cottrell. I miss him.
He takes a week off and he gets to go first.
Yes.
I'll say that before, and I'll be honest, before the series started, I thought that the Warriors were going to win this in 5. And so with that being said, now that I've gotten to see 2 games, I'm going to say that the Warriors win it in 6. I think the Warriors actually pull it out tonight. That first game, the Warriors really wet the bed down the stretch. That was a game that they were in full control of until the fourth quarter happened, and the Celtics just got hot. The one thing that I will say about Steve Kerr is that he kind of had an embarrassment amount of riches on his bench, and I think he got a little too cute with that lineup. You know, you were seeing, Iggy get minutes there down the stretch. You had Gary Payton II getting minutes down there. You know, these are guys who have been important for the Warriors all season, but all playoffs essentially, these guys haven't been there. So I don't think that Steve Kerr was confident in, kind of what got him there. I think he just had too many names and too many guys on his bench that he can throw in there and be comfortable playing. And those guys really just didn't get it done. Iggy hadn't played in, God knows how long at this point. So I don't think Kerr putting in Iggy was the best idea. I think they kind of figured that out in game 2 with Iggy not being available and, kind of limiting Otto Porter's minutes with his injury that he's been dealing with. So I think that Steve Kerr and that Warriors team has made the right adjustment to get their lineup together. And the last point I'll make about the Warriors is Klay Thompson hasn't been shooting the ball well yet. And they've been in, obviously, both these games. They won one, but, if Klay shoots the ball well, this is I would say, completely different series. I think we'd see, more Warriors domination. On the Celtics side, as much as I love Jason Tatum, I don't know what it is about down the stretch. He's just not there yet. So I have more confidence in that Warriors team. They've been here before. I think they win game 3 tonight in Boston. I think Boston takes game 4. Warriors win at home, and then they close it out back in Boston.
Okay, so Shally, before you go, I just want to comment on one thing he said. I agree with you on Andre Iguodala. I think that the Gary Payton 2 reference was not. He's been, until he got hurt, he was playing solid minutes.
No. I'm fine with that. I'm just saying I think he threw too many guys in that rotation. They were too deep. He was just one of the extra names that hadn't been there for a couple.
And series. I think Kuminga was the odd man out there. Like he got no run in that game. I would definitely play Kuminga over Iguodala, but just my opinion. Shally,
Leah got some burn too.
Yeah.
Takes a week off and comes back and talks for 7 minutes straight.
I love Cottrell talking.
Jesus.
Don't you argue with him.
No, I mean, I agree with a lot of what he said. I think, to your opening point, you had Golden State, I don't want to say dominating, but leading that first game comfortably until the fourth quarter when everything that the Celtics touched went through the hoop. You have game 2, which was a dominating win for Golden State. I agree. I don't think we're quite game 2 across the series. I think we're probably closer to game 1, but we're closer to game 1 without Boston having that magical fourth quarter. I think Golden State's the better team. I think you're seeing that. I'll just stay with my prediction. I'll say 5. I think if they win tonight, I think there's a good shot it ends in 5 because I think Boston will come out tight in game 4. But there's a lot of, we talked about it in the pre-show, before the series started. It's a lot of cat and mouse right now. It's a lot of who's going to get their rotations in when they want to. whose rotations play better at the right time, what matchups they can utilize versus the other team. And to Cottrell's biggest point, Clay hasn't showed up yet. So I mean, he's a huge X factor right now. He's capable of coming out and scoring 25 in the first half when he gets going. I think Tatum's played okay. He hasn't shot the ball great, but I still think he's playing well. Everybody else around, kind of the big stars, is kind of inconsistent and up and down. I think at the end of the day, I think Golden State wins tonight. I just think they have too much firepower. I think they have too many guys they can go to get buckets, and I think that's where Boston struggles a little bit down the stretch. At the end of the day, you really don't want anybody other than Brown or Jason Tatum shooting the ball. And I think Golden State has 4 or 5 guys they can go to, including Stephen Clay. You have Jordan Poole. It's just, I don't know. I'm not overly confident with Golden State, but what I've seen from Boston for almost 2 full games instills no confidence in me whatsoever that they can win this series.
So in game 1, the combination of Al Horford, Robert Williams, and Marcus Smart went 20 of 27.
From 3?
Period. Scoring. From 3, Al Horford was 6 for 8. Marcus Smart was 4 for 7. That is not how they shoot.
No, and wasn't he 6 for 6 in the fourth quarter?
Yes.
Because he was 0 for 2 going into the fourth. Yeah. I mean, that's just not going to happen again.
In game 2, the combination went 3 for 12. I don't think you'll see either of that. I think Boston wins tonight. I think that the Garden is totally different than anywhere else that Golden State has played in this playoffs.
We talked about it last week, though. They have a losing record there right now.
They do. I just think that, having your first finals game since 2009, at home, I think that place is going to be rocking. I actually think Boston first quarter is like literally the biggest lock you can run into.
You're probably right.
Now, Golden State third quarter has been the lock all year because Steve Kerr's they're absurd in the third quarter.
They're outscoring their opponents in the third quarter is outrageous.
I just think Boston as a whole is a very good defensive team, and they're lengthy. And why we will say that Clay has not got off. There are other people on that team that have got off and have scored. Steph is shot out of his mind. I don't know if you can expect that all series. This is the best first 2 games he's had in the finals since he's been in the finals. I don't know if he continues that in Boston. He notably shoots better in Oakland. It's just notable. It's the truth. Clay notably shoots better on the road. Just is what it is.
Which is weird because I would feel like that's against the trend. It's like Major League Baseball hitters. Like most of them, all of them hit better at home. It's just you see that 82 times. I think
Clay really, really gets up for those. He loves being the villain.
I would agree with that. And I actually think he takes more pride in that than even like Steph does. Like I think Clay likes being that guy. I think the first quarter is very important to Boston. I would tell you if they don't come out and win the first quarter, then it's really interesting to me.
Rich Tarr, Warriors in 6. CJ Angelo, Warriors in 6. You got Warriors in 6, Cottrell?
Yep.
You still have Warriors in 5.
Yeah, I'll stick with that till tonight when it gets blown up.
I'm going to go Warriors in 7. I think this series is going to be really good, and I would not be surprised if Boston won the series. I'm not what the worst part was? Like, I hate it. This happens every finals because it's the only game to break down. The overreactionary basis of like how NBA reporters go. Before game 2, one of the guys on ESPN, which I'm stop naming his name, you know who he is, literally was like, if the Warriors don't win tonight, it's over. Boston wins. Like, I hate that mentality of like, it's over after every game.
I get that. I mean,
if the Warriors
and I've obviously,
if
they go down 0-2, I mean, that's really not a crazy statement, and I don't like that person any more than you do. But I would make the statement. Like I think this game tonight is way more important to Boston than it's Golden State, in my opinion.
I agree. I think that game 4 Golden State wins. Like if you were like getting my breakdown of the series, I would say game 3 in Boston, game 4 Warriors, game 5 Warriors, game 6 Boston, and then game 7 Warriors. In a closer game than a lot of people would expect, maybe 107-104. I
Has
don't
there
think
been
that
any
this.
point in this series that you guys think that Boston is outside of the fourth quarter in Game One? Has there been any point where you guys think that the Celtics have looked like the better team?
No,
Yes,
that's
yes.
and no, I don't, and that was my point when I said it. Outside of the crazy fourth quarter, they've done nothing to instill any confidence that makes me believe they're going to win. They're going to win 3 more games in this series. That they're going to outplay Golden State in 3 of the next 5. Like I don't see that.
There was a 10-minute run in Game 1. A 10-minute run in Game 1 after Steph started out on fire and was nuts, and the Warriors were up like 13 in the first quarter, where the Celtics got it all the way down to 2 at halftime. That looked like the Boston Celtics were the better team. I was like, wow, man, Steph has been on fire. He's hitting everything. And then he didn't score a point in the second quarter.
To be fair, though, a lot of that run came when, they took him out. He started off, played like only half the quarter. Like he sat for the first 6 minutes of the second quarter. So a lot of that run happened there. I know exactly, what run you're talking about.
Yep.
I think Steve Kerr kind of mismanaged that. When Steph's rolling like that, I understand you want him to get, his breather and everything like that. But when he's got it rolling, you got to keep him out there and keep that rhythm
Put
going.
your foot
He
on
got
the foot,
20 points in
throw
the first quarter.
Yeah,
exactly.
But he had 20 points at halftime, too. So, like, that's the point I meant. Like, I felt like, and, by the way, here's the most misleading stat in the entire NBA. When guarded by Marcus Smart, he was 4, but that doesn't take anything if there's a screen, if there was like, it's literally if it's a one-on-one matchup and he's guarded by Marcus Smart. He's 1 for 7. Like, I hate that. I hate those. When guarded by so-and-so, he was this. Like, those stats are all fake. Don't even pay attention to them.
Yeah, because most of the time you don't guard the same person on the floor all the time.
Correct.
That's why, like, it's a silly comparison, but like we used to get those stats with Ben all the time because people would be like, oh, well, like Durant scored like 25 on him last night, and I'm like, no, like, and then somebody would break it down and be like, oh, well, he guarded Durant for 7 possessions, and out of those possessions, Durant was like 1 for 6. Like, no, that's really what he did then. Like, yeah, basketball people don't just stand around. Like, there's screens, there's everything. Like, and again, you don't. If it's a fast break, you're not guarding the same person on the floor. Like,
Correct.
if your last one back, like.
And help defense is a thing in the NBA?
Yeah, it has to be.
I was curious to see, I'm sure you watched it, the Jason Tatum or Cottrell. How many of those did you disagree with?
I would say I think I agree with most of them besides the Devin Booker one was on the edge, had game 7 of that series not happen, I think Devin Booker probably would be my pick there. Of course, there's a recency bias going with Tatum. I'm taking.
That's
Dame,
why
I'm
I did
taking
it. That's
Kyrie.
why we did it.
Everyone
You're
else,
taking Dame.
everyone
You're taking
else,
Dame
and Kyrie. Yeah.
Oh Jesus. What about Ja Morant? Because that's the biggest one that everyone was arguing with on TikTok. They're like, Ja Morant. Yeah, Ja Morant. That's the one that most people argued with.
See, the Ja Morant one is I probably go Ja.
Okay. So would I. That's a sweep on the board right here. But the reason I asked that is because I have a little bit more fun to add to it. Like, I don't want to do it again. Like, I'm not going to do the same thing. But one of the questions I have to ask you guys is, in 2 years from now, would you rather have Jason Tatum or Jaylen Brown?
And when?
2 years from now.
No hesitation.
Yeah, it's still Tatum for me.
I'll take Jaylen Brown. I think
Tatum, no hesitation.
I think Jaylen Brown's just got the better overall game, and he's ascending at a higher rate, in my opinion.
My problem with Jaylen Brown, I love his game. He can't dribble. And I don't know why that's the case. He's a great player, and he gets to his spots, but he can't dribble. So give me Jason Tatum. He can create a shot from whenever. And I've seen in games when they get tight, Jason Tatum will go drop a 40 ball or 47, 50. Like, he'll put the team on your back. Jaylen Brown can do that too, but I have more confidence in Tatum.
I know that I'm in the minority by saying that, and I'm not saying it now. Obviously, Jason Tatum's a better player, but I just think Jaylen Brown's the smartest basketball player in the NBA. Like, he smartest intelligence-wise in the NBA. With that being said, his ascent has been amazing. Like, he started his rookie year, he was terrible. He's gotten better and better and better, and his ascension. There's arguments this year, earlier in the year, and then Jason Tatum kind of pulled away. I'm telling you, in 2 years from now, you will see. Yes, Joseph Jeffers, Tatum has been more consistent. I agree with you. That's not my point. Tatum's better now. In 2 years from now, I'm telling you, Jaylen Brown's gonna be a better basketball player, which is gonna be scary because both those guys are gonna be top 10 players in the league in 2 years from now, in my opinion.
I don't know if I'm just not there with Jalen yet.
That's fine, and it's a prediction for a reason.
I think part of my issue with Jaylen Brown too, and granted, he has been ascending. I'm almost wondering, are we at his peak?
What?
Is he at the top of that yet?
No, he's gonna learn how to shoot better. He shoots decent now. My point.
He's not a bad shooter.
But he's progressed every year. I think he's improved his field goal percentage by 4 percentage points every year he's been in the league. I gotta look that up, but I'm pretty sure I'm right there.
I mean,
he gets better every year.
That's impressive, but
I guess
we'll see.
I guess the question the thing that your point that would give weight to your point is Jaylen Brown definitely relies a lot on his athleticism, and that athleticism only goes downhill after 27, 28. Well, LeBron is the perfect example. I know he's not LeBron, but he's 37. He's still, very athletic. I think the ascension.
LeBron can also dribble.
He really couldn't when he came in the NBA.
What?
He couldn't.
Fair.
He wasn't
That's
a great
fair.
dribbler.
You didn't have great handles.
I mean, he's not great.
You know what LeBron was really good at doing? Using his off arm to block other defenders from getting near the ball. He didn't have great handles, bro. And anybody that will tell you, Control will tell you that.
He definitely grew into the handle. But I mean, I think a lot of that too was when he first came into the league, they had him at point guard, and I think that was the responsibility that he wasn't ready for. So
yeah, that's fair.
He just kind of grew into that. But
all right, so let's get into tonight. Tonight, how do you think tonight's game goes? You guys both said who wins. That's fine. How do you think it plays out? You guys both think the Warriors win tonight, right?
I think it's close tonight.
I do.
Close game.
I think
close. I don't think it's game 2 or anything like that.
So you think this will be the nail biter?
I don't think it's going to necessarily be a nail biter, but I think the Warriors win comfy, but it's not a blowout. I think they win probably 6 or 8 points, but I don't think they're ever any danger down the stretch.
Okay.
I'll say 3.
I don't think Steph plays the last 4 minutes of the game. I'll go Celtics by 16.
Oh. Maybe. Make it happen.
I'm on my ledge.
The one thing about this game, and you guys kind of already alluded to it a little bit earlier, the Celtics really don't play well at home. And I think this being the first finals game at home, you said, since 2009, which was 13 years ago at this point, and none of these guys have played on this stage before. Even your vet, like Al Horford, he hasn't been on a stage like this playing in front of that home crowd. And this Warriors team has. And they have won every single finals they've been in the past 6 years. They've won an away game every single time. So I think that this Warriors team, with that experience, they're not going to be afraid of, a crowd like Boston. As crazy as the Boston fans get, they've dealt with crazy away fans all the time in the finals. So I think the Warriors will be comfortable, and I think that they'll come out firing on all cylinders.
That was a plug. That's exactly what that was. That was a Cleveland plug. They've not dealt with crazy away fans. Cleveland fans aren't crazy fans.
They faced Toronto in the finals. They've been it wasn't just Cleveland.
They've been in that atmosphere before. I agree. To your point, though, I agree. I think the first quarter is very important for Boston.
I think defensively, it really builds up your team, the energy in which you play defensively.
Yeah.
I think that really. I think there'll be a few turnovers, a lot of turnovers in the first quarter. I think that they'll be pressed, and I think you also have Boston Celtics fan as the referee tonight.
True.
So I don't know. You might see some touchy calls.
Touchy.
Anything else NBA you want to get into?
Yeah, I mean, can we just stop playing games every 3 days? Because it's ridiculous.
I hate the schedule.
It's brutal. It's unbelievable. I don't understand how hockey and baseball can either play every night or every other night, and then NBA we have to wait we have to wait 3 days for a freaking finals game. Like, good Lord,
I
let the
get.
guys
I mean,
play.
I kind of get this one just because it was
The travel day.
You got the extra travel day, and they're going to play on Friday, so we're only going to get two days in between this one and the next one. But
Yeah,
3
but I
days
think
from
Friday-
the Warriors game, Sunday to
don't think they
Wednesday
play-
was crazy.
I don't think they played on Monday again after that.
Where's the travel? They got the travel day.
They're not going by horse and buggy, bro. They're getting on a freaking private plane. They're home in fucking 5 hours. Like, Jesus.
It's not 5 hours.
Freaking, we're not Oregon trailing it across the country to the freaking game.
Real quick, while we're here, basketball, I'm sure we got a little bit of time.
My
Yeah.
Lord.
What do you guys think Quinn Snyder
That's a good question.
stepping down?
I think it's a terrible move for Utah. Obviously, they
That team's getting
desperately wanted to keep him.
that team's getting broken down. now.
100%. Donovan Mitchell needs to be
Become a
traded.
Sixer
Needs to be traded.
to the Sixers.
And they need to rebuild that
And
team.
they can bring in Quinn Wyndham.
If I'm Utah though, and Danny Ainge is there
I
now,
don't let him coach. No, I don't let him coach.
what?
If I'm Utah, I'm like, hey, you got to sit your year. You're not coaching. I'm
Oh.
not quitting my team and going somewhere else to coach.
That's not where I was getting into. But if I'm Utah, I do not trade Donovan Mitchell.
You have no shot of re-signing him now.
It's fine.
You can't let him go for free.
I trade
bro.
Rudy Gobert, and I get the right people around him. And then in the offseason, knowing I have his bird rights, I do a sign and trade deal if he's definitely leaving. Because he's going to want that 5-year max, bro.
You have to do all that in like a year. That's tough.
You trade Rudy this offseason.
Yeah, but you still got to bring everybody else in within a year. Like that's what I'm saying. Like you can have his bird rights, but like he's not going to hang around if he knows he's going through like another 20-win season. He's not.
What do you mean another 21 season? When have they ever had a 21 season? Ever. I don't think Utah's had a 21 season.
You start trading people and
2006.
saying you start trading people.
No, I just dump Rudy and I get somebody somebody that can play with Donovan Mitchell. Obviously, him and Rudy don't get along. Is that fair? Did everybody understand that?
Mm-hmm.
Like the
Oh, yeah.
passes
I
per
mean,
game
Rudy's already
stat.
said it's him or me.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
The passes per game stat is actually hilarious. Like, did you see that? Like, how many times Donovan Mitchell passed Rudy Gobert
just
year by year?
steadily going down.
It's like 7, 6, 6, 4, 2.
I mean, some of that is like game flow, and like they play a little bit differently now than they used to. And Conley got there. I mean, they play just a different style of offense they did when like that pairing first came to be. But yeah, I mean, there's no any kind of misconceived notion about the love loss between the two of them.
No.
So
I try to get a piece for Gobert, which I can. I could probably get a couple pieces, a couple small pieces to add around Donovan Mitchell. And that's exactly where I go from there. And I play this season, and I try to get him invested, and I try to supermax him. And if he doesn't sign, guess what? Guess what you do? Very simple. Hey, we'll give you the extension for the sign and trade. We need stuff. We need assets when you leave. You're gonna blow the whole thing up now or later. I would take another year, Donovan Mitchell.
I'm obviously I would keep Mitchell over Rudy, but my point is, if somebody blows your doors off for an offer for him now, do you not make it?
Give me an example.
Um,
Give me any example. Any team that could blow your doors off.
like who could sign and trade right now?
Miami Heat.
Okay, so give me the blow your doors off deal that they would give you for Donovan Mitchell. Because they're not trading Jimmy Butler, right?
Yeah, I mean,
Tyler Hero.
Okay.
I'm already
Duncan
out.
Robinson.
Definitely out.
Utah's
I don't know
so
who else I'm throwing-
we're
I don't know
thrilled
who
at
else
this
I'm
point.
throwing in there, but I think
Utah
that would be
and-
the base of it.
Two white guys that can shoot. Awesome.
That's what Utah's gonna say.
Tyler Hero's more than a shooter. Don't disrespect Tyler Hero like that.
Tyler Hero gets way too much love on this show.
100%.
Tyler Hero gets buckets.
Yeah, and when they don't matter,
Six man.
Hey, when you
it's 6 man. He's not even a starter. What if they did
you
something?
guys have a guy in Philly who was a 6-man. James Harden.
6 man.
I said he was a 6-man. Like that was like his beginning of his career.
Talking about 10 years, 15 years ago?
Tyler Hero was only in his 4th year.
Come on, bro. That's not a really good a comparison.
That was a stretch control.
I'm like sitting there, I'm like, was he talking about Maxey last year? Like, I don't know.
That's
Where's he getting at?
I was literally stumped. I'm like,
What?
we don't have a 6 man. We don't have a bench at all.
By the way, that gets as little play as it should get so much more play. How bad James Harden was in that first finals he played in. It is absolutely like.
Oh, yeah.
Do you remember that Oklahoma
Yeah.
City Miami Heat finals?
He was
Yep.
absent. He was
Absence, another word. I thought he didn't want it. It was the worst thing I've ever seen in my life.
It would have been better if he stayed home.
Yep, 100%. That gets not enough play. But Cottrell, do you have any example? You said Miami Heat. Bill, anything?
What's
you want Philly? You said Philly. What would Philly offer him?
Oh, I mean, at that point, you're offering him Harden a 1, and you're getting out of the contract. You're getting a 1. And you probably have to trade like Tease and somebody with him.
What?
I would do it in a heartbeat.
You think Utah does that?
I'm not saying they would. I'm saying that's
Harden, Tease, and a 1.
You can't bring him in with Harden here.
And you have to max Harden.
No, he's an expiring contract.
No, he's on it. He's expired. His contract expired.
Yeah, so he's going to opt in for this year. So it'll be 1 year.
Warriors.
Okay, that's interesting. You're going to tell Steph Curry his running mate Klay Thompson's gone.
No, I'm not trading. I'm not trading him.
You're trading Jordan Poole?
No, I'm trading Wiggins. I'm trading Kuminga. Probably trading Wiseman. If you're Utah, you want the young guys.
No way. There's zero chance.
Why wouldn't you want Andrew Wiggins?
Because Wiseman's a bust. Andrew Wiggins is in the
bust. He didn't play this season.
Okay. Watch him.
I think the bigger issue. I think Donovan controls more of this than I think Utah would like, because I think at some point it's just. I hate to say it, but the precedent has just been set with star players about I'm not doing this, I'm not doing that, and if he goes down that road, which I hope he doesn't, but if he does go down that road, then I mean they might not have a choice.
I got something I see very clearly. The Dwight Howards of the world are done. The Rudy Goberts of the world are done. I'm telling you right now, if you watch this finals and you think that the Dwight Howards of the world are still going to be prevalent in this league, if you're not a big that can shoot and pass like Embiid and Joker, you're worthless in a playoff series.
I
don't. Fine.
Yeah, that's another one. DeAndre Ayton hasn't been fine in this playoff series. He hasn't. And I'm gonna tell you something right now. DeAndre Ayton is a dying breed, and he needs to improve his game, or he's never going to be a superstar in the NBA. And I love Ayton. I'm an Ayton fan. The issue with that big is when you get in a playoff series, you're constantly screening off that big to a shooter. And you've seen it last year what the Clippers did to Utah. What did the Clippers do to Rudy Gobert?
Yeah, I mean, Rudy Gobert is a little bit different. Rudy Gobert is different.
What's the difference between Rudy Gobert and DeAndre Ayton?
DeAndre Ayton, we saw what DeAndre Ayton did in the playoffs last year. DeAndre Ayton was so valuable, and we were talking about, him deserving that max contract last year. So
okay.
DeAndre Ayton showed that he could play in the playoffs.
I wouldn't say they're the same player. They're not the same.
Rudy Gobert doesn't have any offense.
They're very similar players.
Rudy Gobert scores on free throws and like putbacks and like an occasional alley-oop. Like he is nowhere near the offensive game that Ayton already has.
That's fair, and Ayton has nowhere near the defensive game that Rudy Gobert.
Okay, so we're agreeing they're not the same offensively or defensively.
No, but what I mean is that they're stiff bodies. They're slow, and essentially what you're running into is these teams are screening. You know what's prevalent in the NBA right now? 6'6" to 6'9" wings that could shoot and play defense. That is where the league is headed. And I'm going to tell you right now, you better believe you're going to start seeing centers at 6'9". You better believe that you're going to start seeing teams run out lineups. Like, you remember when Bill Belichick had the 2 tight end set with Gronk and Aaron Hernandez, and like everything's like, what the hell do we do? Like we're not ready for this. And then the league adapted and tried to copycat. Teams are going to copycat what the Warriors are doing with that def lineup, with Draymond Green at the center.
Teams and they're already tried doing that.
Yeah, that really only works. Yeah, like you still, for that to work, you have to have a Steph Curry and a Klay Thompson and another superstar. What other team can do that right now?
It's not just the superstars that make
that work.
But
that's a huge part of it.
In order for that to work, you need to be able to have ball rotation and shooters. The superstars are what makes Golden State so great.
Okay, fine. I'll say, instead of say superstars, I'll say shooters. And what team has the personnel that can play the offense that Golden State does right now?
No team has that personnel now.
Okay.
But let me be clear with you. I think that Miami is very close to being there. And why I say that?
Center, though.
No, he's not. I agree. He's very, very athletic. True centers to me, are like Joel, Rudy, Nikola Jokic, Ayton. They're true centers.
See,
They're big, stiff,
I
slow.
wouldn't put
Bam
JoJo and
is
Joker in the
athletic.
same category as Ayton and Rudy, though. Either.
No, I'm not the same category, but they're true centers. Bam is an athletic center that can guard wings, that can guard threes, that can guard fours, that can guard on the
Ben Wallace
perimeter.
was an athletic center.
Correct?
I would say he's a true center.
Okay. That's a fair point. It's a fair counterpoint to what you're saying. What I mean is it's getting away from the tall, stiff. Just that's the NBA is getting away from that. I get your point.
I got you.
Okay. So anything else NBA before we move on?
No.
I just want. By the way, the funny part was Ayton just said recently, like the mutual interest in them not coming back.
He's not playing in Phoenix.
He's not playing for Phoenix.
He's never playing in Phoenix again.
That'll be an interesting signing trade deal.
Okay. I want to get into.
If you're Phoenix, do you hit up the Jazz? Your Rudy Gobert?
No,
No, I mean,
it's not what Phoenix wants to do. Phoenix is not built. By the way, just to be clear, DeAndre Ayton is a monkey wrench in their spikes for what that coach wants to do. I'm serious. He's not what they want to do.
Phoenix needs another scorer.
Agreed. And I think Memphis was the first one to jump on this train. Not Memphis.
I mean, Memphis is the one team that maybe plays most similar to Golden State, honestly.
Do you realize that Steven Adams, they signed him at the beginning of the season, and in the playoffs versus Golden State, he wasn't touching the court until Ja got hurt. Wasn't touching the court.
Yeah, but that was, well, it would have been, we don't know how much he would have played before the Golden State series. I mean, I think that was more of a matchup thing with Golden State. So I think it goes to your point, but it goes to our point as well. Yeah. But again,
I just think teams are going to build around that way.
I wouldn't say you're wrong because you
like. By the way, do you remember what we talked about last week with the NBA Finals? And I hate to bring this up. I'm not trying to be like when we talked about the next level stuff. You see how many minutes Robert Williams played in Game 2?
Yeah.
Von Looney, they're getting them out of the game, bro. They're starting them to match up, and then they're getting them out of the game, and they're playing like literally positionless basketball. It's three forwards and two guards.
I get it, but again, like on a normal night, like if they weren't playing Golden State in the finals, that wouldn't be the case, is what I'm saying. Golden State is the one team that really pushes your hand in that situation because they can run that lineup. And if they run that lineup and they're all shooting well, like you can't let that lineup run and burn minutes with Williams. Like if they come out and Steph's hot and Clay's hot, like you have to get out of that lineup ASAP. Because if not, they'll kill you. And the Golden State is the one team that can and really push you into making moves. There's nobody else in the NBA. Memphis is probably one of the teams that's close that can really make you do that yet. Now, again, I wouldn't disagree with you. Maybe that's the trend we're going to, where everybody's going to try to get to. And
that's
if
my prediction.
Yeah, and if that is the case, then you're going to see more teams be able to do that. But right now, Golden State's the one true team that can do that, because they just have a wealth. They just have a wealth of offensive weapons. And you have Draymond Green playing the center, who's an amazing defender, who is unselfish and will literally do everything in his power to make it easier for people to score.
Agreed. Cottrell?
No, I mean, I definitely agree with all of that. The one thing I think that might give some teams kind of a reason to pause, the Rockets tried to do the small ball thing, and it didn't quite work out for them. So
they're all 20 years
granted,
old.
Yeah, I mean,
no, I'm not talking about. I'm talking about the.
Oh, you're talking about the Harden, Gordon.
When they got rid of Clint Capella and all those guys.
Yeah, because James Harden dribbles the ball for 20 seconds.
That's correct.
But you
I think it's more of a James problem. I think it's more of a James problem.
It's a James Harden problem.
I want to move into the Phillies.
All right.
And we'll talk about a little MLB too, because I want to talk a little MLB on top of the Phillies. But this time last week, we were talking about bashing the Phillies and Girardi, and I said that we need to get rid of them. They won the game. They came back. They were like on they're terrible losing streak, 5 straight losses. They were 21-29.
Did he get fired the next day?
The next day.
That's what I thought, yeah.
The next day, the Phillies heard the show. Wire to Wire told them, got to axe Girardi.
Gotta go.
And they fired Joe Girardi. they've won every game since. They swept the Angels. They won the first one versus the Brewers. They won their last one, or first two versus Milwaukee. No, first one. It's 5 straight. Oh, okay, one with Girardi. Sorry, they won 4 straight without him, and then one with him. I think that obviously we can all argue that's no one's arguing against them firing him, right?
No, like I mean, I even made the post about it. Like I agree with the move. I think it had to be made. There were just certain aspects of it. Like I said it on the show the night before. Like you need a different voice sometimes. There's a couple other things that have come out, but I mean, listen, he had to go. We can argue about their talent and overachieving, underachieving, blah blah blah. But I think overall to that point, I think everybody would agree, even if you were the biggest Girardi supporter, they were just not playing anywhere close to their potential. And that's a problem. He had to go. He had been fired. I don't think it's all his fault, and I'm firmly entrenched there. But I think the decision had to be made, and they made the right one.
Control. Viewing this from outside Philadelphia, would you say the Phillies' problem was more of a Joe Girardi thing, a Dave Dombrowski thing, or a players not playing up to their own potential?
I would say the biggest would be probably players not playing up to their potential. Just because, I mean, you signed so many guys in the offseason, and I don't think any of them have played up to their contract yet. Granted, it is still somewhat early in the season, but I think that's where you put the pressure on Girardi, is because, if Dombrowski's and those front office guys, the Phillies, are spending all that money, they're like, we want to see a winning product and we want to see this team hit the postseason. And so if you're not going to get us there, then, we'll find somebody that can. So I 100% understand the move, and we've seen, the younger guys have been playing for the Phillies, and it's worked, and maybe they just needed that spark, and I think it was the right move.
So you think it was more the players not playing? Bill, I'm gonna ask you the same question.
I think so. They might not have been motivated to play for him. It seems like they're motivated to play for their new skipper.
I like that.
The one thing that came that's kind of leaked out from numerous places is they were the players in the clubhouse were not happy with the amount of communication between Joe and the players, and then also, not giving people consistent at bats, like letting one guy play on Tuesday and has a bad game, he doesn't play again until Friday, and then if he plays Friday, then he sits again for 3 days. Obviously, anybody who's played the sport for ever, you need repetition, you need at bats, you need to see the ball like that. That's 101. So I think Girardi failed them there. And I think it's, I think the new guy Thomas is going to roll with the young kids. We were listening to it on the way up. By all intents and purposes, except for against lefties, I think Mickey Moniak's going to be your starting center fielder. You'll get Odubel in spells against righties or maybe lefties, certain lefties. It's they're going to stick with Bohm, and I think you're going to see more Stott. I think, which is going to be interesting. When Didi's healthy. The only thing I'm going to say is, I'm going to temper expectations with this. They swept an Angels team that was in the process of losing
12 straight and firing a manager.
12 in a row, and they went home and fired their manager, who was just as accomplished and popular as Joe Girardi was. So, and we beat Milwaukee last night, who's a very good team. And we hit, I want to say, they're not fluke. I'm not going to say fluke. No home runs are really flukes, but they hit 2 home runs off debatably the best reliever in the game.
Yep.
So I don't think you're going to see all that all the time. We'll see what they do. You can't say they're definitely not playing with more enthusiasm and a bigger spark right now, which is what I think you want to see when you make a coaching change. And to your point, and Cottrell just said it too, when you go out and spend all this money, the GM always thinks that he's bringing in the right people. So when that starts to go wrong, the GM's not the one who's going to get fired first. It's always the coach. And anytime there's a managerial move, you're always going to get that little bump from the players because, it's kind of a subtle notice. Like, their heads are kind of on the chopping block now. You get rid of the coach, you're kind of out of excuses. But
Phillies up 4-0 tonight. 2-run homer by Stott, 2-run homer by Hoskins.
Reese decided to play.
I will say this. So what is your answer though?
What was it? It was A was Girardi, B was what?
B Dombrowski, and C the players not playing to their potential.
It's I'm firmly where I was last week. I think it's a combination of A and C. I think there was certain things that were out of his control, but I think there's definitely there's moves he made in games, bad bullpen moves, switching the lineup all the time, blah, blah, blah. But I think part of it also was, I think Schwarber's still hitting under 200. I mean, it's part of it too. I mean, you can't bring these guys in for $30 million a year and not hit the ball.
And you said C. Would your follow-up be A, like his?
Yeah, so it definitely would be the follow-up, but I think mine is the follow-up because I don't think he was getting the most out of those guys. Kind of like to Bill's point about
mine is Dombrowski. I will go firmly B. And I'm going to tell you why. Because I said this before the season. I'll say it now. I'll say it again. You're the worst defensive team in baseball last year, and you went out and paid $60 million a year for Schwarber and Castellanos. I'm not saying they're not great players. They're not worth the money that you gave them. Your team is built wrong. And all you have to do to look at a team built right is just go right up 95 and watch to New York and watch New York Mets play baseball. They're built right. They play defense. They run the bases. They pitch. They do everything right. So when you have a cold streak where power hitters aren't hitting the ball out of the ballpark, a la Schwarber, a la JT Realmuto, who they gave a ton of fucking money to.
He's been on fire the last 2 weeks, though.
Fair, but they're not built correct. They're minus defensively everywhere on the field outside of catcher.
Defense really hasn't been their issue, though. That's the problem. Like they're middle of the pack. They're actually over for what they are. If you go advanced analytics, like what they are, to your point, position to position, they're actually overachieving defensively right now.
I just think that their team is built wrong. When that team manufactures a run outside of Bryce.
Oh, well, that's analytics bullshit. Like I'll never argue that. I hate it. I hate everything about it.
I feel like baseball, and maybe because I've been watching it for so long, you watch New York, and Brandon Nimmo doesn't get talked about nearly as enough of what he does. Frankie Lindor's having a great season now for those guys. Why do you think the polar bear leads to all baseball in RBIs? Because those guys are on base for him every time he bats.
Yeah. I mean, we don't have a true leadoff guy. The guy that really should be hitting 2 for us, or he's hit 2 for every other team he's played on in Segura, we just lost for 3 months, and we're probably going to trade him. So that hurt as well. And again, it was another example. He was hitting over 300. He was doing, being the player we thought he was going to be, and now he's on the shelf for 3 months.
Chris Carkin goes, sounding like a Mets fan now. I'm not a Mets fan. I just like the way they play baseball, Chris. Like, all right, so how can you not watch that team and not be jealous of what they have? Like, seriously.
Listen,
by the way, they have our pitching prospect that I wanted for years to be on the Phillies, and he's leading the MLB in wins. Like, I get it. It's been a while since Carrasco's been here. I understand that, but the Mets play baseball the right way. That's why they win so much.
Well, I mean,
that's why I still have Toronto beating New York in the American League East, because New York doesn't play baseball the right way. They're hot. They're hitting the ball. Judge is unbelievable. He's got 22 home runs before June 15th, which is absurd.
New York, it's going to be what it's always is with it in New York. It's going to be their health. Stan's been a little banged up already. He came back the other night, hit a home run. They stay healthy, they're going to be tough, man, because at least right now, as we sit here right now, their pitching is dramatically better than it's been the last 2 years. You have
rank these three. Rank these three in order of importance. Pitching, offense, defense.
When?
October.
Pitching number 1.
Okay.
And I'll take offense over defense.
That's fair. Kishar, your thoughts?
I think I agree with pitching being 1. I don't know exactly if I'm taking for sure. You said it very definitively. I don't know for sure I'm taking offense over defense.
All right, so the funny part is, though, you could say offense, defense, whatever, but how about defense and speed versus offense, long ball?
Speed.
Like, I'm not like my point being
you're not wrong, but it depends on how your team's built. If like, for instance, like speed is more important to the Mets than it is the Yankees.
Correct.
So
Yes.
depending on if you're building
But
a
if
team,
the Mets play the Yankees in a 7-game series, I'm taking the Mets 100 times out of 100.
if everybody's healthy, yeah,
Yes.
because they have better pitching.
They have better pitching. They have better team speed. They have better defense. And it's not close on any of those three things. Now where the Yankees win is they hit the ball with out of the ballpark more.
Yeah, but in October, again, that's why pitching is always number one. I'll take my elite pitcher against your elite hitter.
Correct.
I will take Jacob deGrom against Aaron Judge, and I'll feel comfortable winning that battle.
I completely agree with you. And with the Phillies, they're built fundamentally wrong, and the only person I can blame that for is Dave Dombrowski. I would have spent the money. I would have spent the money getting a defensive center fielder. I'd have spent the money replacing Didi Gregorius at shortstop with Bryson Stott at the beginning of the season and using that money other places, third base. I'd have moved Rhys Hoskins out of here. I'd have moved Alec Boehm to first base, who, by the way, Alec Boehm has played since that error game and when he went nuts, he's played really good defense at third base, which means he could be a plus defensive first baseman.
He's already a better first baseman than Rhys Hoskins. They need to figure out what they want to do with Rhys. The problem with Rhys is
I'm gonna get a true leadoff hitter. Bring in Whit Merfield. I don't give a shit. I would have got a guy with speed that can lead off, that can cause terror, that makes pitchers think about him. The speed game in baseball is so little talked about because of analytics now, and I completely disagree with it. Completely.
That's because somebody plays that way anymore. But you want to know why the Mets do? Look no further than who manages that team.
Okay.
Buck Showalter is an old school guy.
I love it, but
and that's
look
why
the way they play.
I agree, but that's why they said that's why they brought him in. That's why they hired him when there was other people up for that job. They brought him in because, to their to Cohen's credit and the GM's credit, we built this team this way. If we do learn how to hit behind runners, if we bunt in late game situations, so forth and so on, get to the middle of the lineup with Frankie, with Alonso and all those guys, and just need to get one hit out of those guys instead of That's the problem with the Phillies right now. We'll get the leadoff guy on first base, and they're like, all right, we're going to get like 3 hits in a row to score this guy. That's not realistic in the Major League Baseball. With bullpen specialists now and stuff like that, it's just not freaking realistic to think you're going to send Rhys, Bryce, and Nick, and 2 of the 3 of them are going to get a hit every time. No, you take the next guy up to bunt him to second. Now, to your point, you've Brendan Nemo at second, who's fast as hell. You now have to get Frankie and Alonso out back-to-back. If either one of them puts the ball in the outfield, he scores a run, the game's over. It's not hard. Baseball's not hard unless you make it hard.
I couldn't agree with you more. It's one of the few things that we 100% agree on is the way a team is built in baseball. I think the Phillies, God, I love it. God, come on, Control.
Would your answer change from it being on Dombrowski if the Phillies make the playoffs? Like seeing where they were at and if they make the playoffs?
It would still be on Dombrowski because they're not going to win in the playoffs.
And
by the way, if they make the 3rd wild card spot, that's like taking my sister to the prom. I don't care about that.
The only thing I'm going to give him a reprieve on per se. This was really his first full offseason to do things. He's coming off the COVID year where they weren't going to spend money, blah, blah, blah. So
I just think that Girardi was a lame duck coach that no one respected, and that's Dombrowski's fault. Fire him last year. Hire a coach. Have a direction. Or give him an extension if you think you believe in him as a guy. You had to wait till they go 21-29 through 50 games to fire him. You had a coach sitting as lame duck that you knew people in the locker room didn't respect.
I don't think it's a respect thing. I think they were just there's a butting heads of certain things, and
The other thing drives me out about Girardi, he breaks his own rules. I am never pitching a bullpen guy 3 days in a row. Then he throws Familia 3 days in a row. I'm sorry, I'm getting a little bit deep Philly stuff. I get it, but I hate when you say, this is my rule, and I will not break this rule, and then you do it with a dog shit closer dog shit reliever like Familia. And by the way, Familia is a guy that we beat up on for years in Philadelphia. We signed him to be our 7th inning guy. So Anthony Dominguez needs to be your closer. I don't really give a shit if you think his arm's not ready. Close him on the nights that you need to close him on.
Well, I mean,
he's the best pitcher in that bullpen by a long shot. By a long shot. I'd also would have signed a pitcher and put Ranger Suarez back in the bullpen. Because Ranger is great for 2 innings.
I mean, I think number one, depending on how Mickey finishes the year, they're definitely going to get an outfield piece this year. And then they got to figure out what they're doing in the infield. That's going to be interesting. You can pencil in Bryson Stott at shortstop. The rest of them, you're probably going to go into next year without a second baseman. And then you've still the debacle in the corners. Reese still has 2 more years of arbitration left. So, I mean,
this entire organization has screwed up everywhere. Remember when they gave Scotty jetpacks all that money? Well, not all that money, but paid him like he was a professional baseball player, and then didn't let him play anywhere. Didn't give him an everyday second base role.
well,
Like, oh, you're going to play center today, shortstop tomorrow. You'll sit for 3 weeks. Then you'll come back and play second.
no, that's not what they were doing with him at the end. You can make the argument he was not consistently playing the same position. I'll give you that. The kid had 400 at bats and he struck out 230 times. That's a problem.
That's not real, but I got it.
Now it's close to that. He started this year in minor AAA. He was 1 for 19 with 13 strikeouts.
But they paid him, bro.
Well,
That's a mistake.
They paid him because if he would have turned out to be like Chase, like they thought he was going to be, then you're instead of paying him $25 million that they paid him, you're paying him $90 million. But again, it was a mistake. You miss on stuff like that with baseball.
We will talk more Phillies baseball and more baseball going
Phillies.
forward.
Phillies.
I will say this, though. I made a prediction for a season. I said Sandy Alcantara is the best pitcher in the National League, and he is the best pitcher in the National League. I just want to say that. If you are not watching this kid in Miami, he is unfriggin' real. Last 5 starts, he's allowed 2 runs. He's just an absolute stud. 9 innings, 8 innings, 8 innings, 7 innings. Every start. 1.81 ERA. He should start for the National League in the All-Star game. I still think the Phillies finished exactly where I said they finished. 85-77. Third
Playoffs.
Probably gets him in though.
Third wild card? I don't know. Kiss your sister, lose a game.
I mean, you say that, but I mean,
Better than not
you play one card. Yeah, I mean, you play one card or 1 game wild card playoff. I mean, you're throwing you're throwing Nola or Wheeler like with that lineup. You hope they hit. I'll take our shot. I'll take our chances with that.
Isn't the playoffs different this year though? I don't think it's 1 game wild card for the wild cards anymore. I think the first 2 get buys, and then the 2 plays
maybe
or 3 plays 6.
I'll have to look at one thing back too.
But
they've changed so much of those 2 years.
All right, well, we got to move. We
Move.
UFC.
Okay.
We got a card. I have my winners written down. I know exactly where I'm going on all 3, and I feel pretty confident in all 3. But we'll start with this one because this one is the one. Although I'm picking her, and although she's an unbelievable fighter, Valentina, who's Cantrell's favorite fighter, she's not fighting a schlep, bro. Talia Santos is not a schlep. And I'll tell you right now, she's live at 450. Live at plus 450.
I think she's a good fighter. I don't think she's in Valentina's orbit. I think she's plus 450 for a reason. I think unless Valentina goes in there and has an Amanda Nunes performance where she didn't train and blah, 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 which I don't think is in her DNA, I think Valentina's going to dominate her.
I think Valentina wins. I'm not saying she doesn't win. I just think it'll be one of those fights you're like, oh, shit. Talia's in this fight.
I don't think that.
Maybe decision, not stoppage. Maybe like
even if it's a decision.
3-2.
Yeah, see, I don't see that. I could see it maybe being a decision. Maybe she doesn't finish her, but I think it's dominant.
Dominant. Okay, Control. I know where you're going. You're Valentina's
know where I'm going.
biggest fan.
Pound for pound, best woman on the planet. I've been saying it for the past 5 years. I didn't care about all the Amanda Nunes hype train.
Bro,
stop
it.
I was on board a little bit. I was
Stop
on board.
it.
Don't get
You
me
were
wrong.
on board.
I
Don't
loved
play
her.
that bullshit.
But I always said Valentina was pound for pound the best, and I've been clamoring for the third fight between those two since we started the podcast. But I think Valentina wins this fight. I think it's a 3rd round submission. I think it's a knockdown, and she's going to transition into a submission.
Funny story. Celtics are up 16 in the first quarter, and Jaylen Brown's got 12.
Saw that.
But you have Valentina by submission in what round?
Valentina's third round submission.
Okay. What do you have?
I was gonna say 3rd round TKO. I don't think that'll be submission.
I'll go 5 round decision. Valentina wins. Unanimous. maybe 4-1, maybe 3-2. The reason I start with that fight is because the fight that before that is the better fight, no doubt in my mind.
Absolutely.
Joanna Jędrzejczyk
Joanna.
versus Zhang Weili.
Zhang Weili.
It was a war the first time they fought. Zhang Weili is the favorite in this fight, but she won the last one. I would love to hear your thoughts on that, and I'll go last on this one.
Yeah, good show.
I'm picking Joanna. I think Weili has. I think a lot of her confidence has kind of wavered. Kind of saw it in that second fight against Rose. She wasn't doing the things that was making her successful. And I think against the striker like Joanna, you can't be tentative in that aspect of it. Joanna will stand and bang with you, and we saw that in the first fight. I just said it. I think it was one of the best fights I've ever seen, and I think Joanna is going to get the best of her. I think Weili is very tough. I think it's going to be a decision. I think there's going to be a point though where Joanna gets her knocked down, but I think Weili just has too much fight in her to go down through a knockout or a TKO. So I'll go decision, but I think Joanna's going to have a lot of control in that fight.
Good, shall we?
I agree with everything he said pretty much across the board. I think Joanna wins. I think it's a decision. I think it's another great fight. I think my biggest reason for picking Joanna is exactly what Cottrell said. I think I don't want to say she's gun shy, but we've all talked about it. Once you get knocked out, coming back, it's always a little bit different for most fighters. I think she doesn't look the same. I think the thing that's going to help her a little bit is, to Cottrell's point as well, Joanna's just going to stand in front of her and want to bang. So I think Weili's going to get hit a little bit, but I think once she starts hitting Joanna back, it'll let her ease in and get a little comfortable in the fight. And then I think it's just going to be fireworks. I think it's going to be a great fight again. I don't think anybody gets stopped. I think it goes the distance. I think it's great. Maybe doesn't match the first fight, but I think it's up there. I think it's going to be a very entertaining fight. I think it's the best fight on the card by far.
Cody Garbrandt, Chuck Liddell, Matt Hughes, Roy Jones. 4 very notable names I can give you that after they got knocked out, their careers completely changed. I think that what I watched from Weili Zhang after the first fight with Rose, her getting knocked out, which, once again, I argued, and I'm actually arguing against myself at this point. The second time they fought, you could see how tentative Zhang Weili was in that fight. You could see how worried of the knockout she was in that fight. I got Joanna Jędrzejczyk, second round knockout.
You got to finish.
I have Joanna Jędrzejczyk, second round knockout. And I think we see one of the worst rematches you will ever watch in UFC history. Joanna Jędrzejczyk will kill Carla Esparza again, like she did the last time they fought. And I love Carla. You're not going to find a bigger fan of Carla than mine. I've been a Cookie Monster fan since she's been in the UFC.
Cookie Monster.
She's a really nice girl. Really hard worker, good grappler, but just styles make fights. And if I'm Carla Esparza, I am praying Zhang Weili wins that fight, because that's the only time she has she might have a shot versus Zhang Weili. She has no shot versus Joanna Jędrzejczyk. Joanna wins second round knockout. I don't think this one will be close. I don't think this one will be anywhere near what the first fight was. I don't think it'll be a good fight at all. Just giving my 2 cents there. I'm very strong on this one too.
You don't think it gets good at any point?
No. I think Joanna's going to tag her up early. I think Zhang Weili is going to be a little bit conservative near the end of the first round. I think in the second round, she's going to come out there with her confidence again. And I think Joanna's going to stick her and smoke.
My thing with that, though, is that where would Weili go from here at this point? If you lost back-to-back to Rose, and granted, of course, there's still fights
where did Roy Jones go after Antonio Tarver knocked him out? I'm not trying to be smart. Like, you can still fight for money if you want to,
Yeah,
but you're not.
absolutely.
There's,
But I don't think that's
I don't
what
see it in
her
her.
aspirations are. I don't think that's what her aspirations.
I don't see it in her.
She's a fighter that wants to fight for the belt.
I seen the tread on the tires that second Rose fight. I seen the wear. Like, she's running at 3 by 10, 3 by 30 seconds. I mean, it's almost bald. That tread's almost gone. Just saying how it is.
All right.
I seen it in that fight.
I mean, I think we're all agreeing that it's there. So, I mean, I just, I guess I'm hoping for a good fight.
Hoping. We can hope. We're not going to get a good one in the main event either. Because I feel strongly about this one too.
Yep, I do too.
Go ahead. Why don't you, since it's your guy, why don't you lead us into this one, Cottrell?
So you got Glover Teixeira, your heavyweight champion, going up against Yuri Prochazka. I think that Yuri is going to be the new light heavyweight champion. This is a guy who, if you've seen him fight before, he is electric. Nothing seems to faze him, and he's constant pressure. I think he's going to go into that fight against Glover, and I think he's going to knock him out. I'll say second round TKO, and I think that fight gets ugly. I think Glover's going to try and get him to the ground, and Yuri's not going to go for it. I think Yuri has the takedown defense, and he has the striking to keep Glover at a distance, and I think he catches him in that second round and puts him to sleep.
Shall we?
I'm going with Prochazka as well. The only thing that kind of concerns me here is I feel like this is almost the feeling of like this, the Charles Oliveira no respector thing here going with Teixeira. But I also don't think Teixeira is as good as fighter as Oliveira is. So I'm going with Prochazka. I agree with Cottrell. I think it's a stoppage. I think it's too much pressure, too much striking. I think Teixeira's only hope is to get this fight on the ground, and I just don't think he can consistently do that for 5 rounds, have any kind of hope of eking out a decision or have any kind of success to hurt him or damage him. I think for sure. I just think he's too much. I think he's too much. He's too much of an athlete. He's younger. He's quicker. He's faster. He hits harder. I actually had second round stoppage as well. So
minus 200. Minus 200 is too low for Yuri.
Yeah,
Yuri's gonna kill him.
Yep.
It's not going to be close. I have Yuri in first round, and I don't think it hits the 3-minute mark.
Ooh.
I think he's faster. I think he's stronger. I think he has very good takedown defense. I think he's more elusive, and I think he's going to beat the old man off Glover. I think Glover ran into, in my opinion, the perfect championship fight versus someone that won. Like, listen, Jan is a slower, more powerful fighter. Yuri is quicker, stronger, faster. I think Yuri's going to kill him. I feel bad for Glover Teixeira having to walk in that ring.
I agree. I 100% agree. I almost wonder, is this going to be the last fight that we see over in the UFC?
Yes.
And at this point, he's 42. He's already, he was fighting for a championship. He finally got it. And if you lose the belt, I mean, what left is there to fight for? You're not getting another shot anytime soon.
That's it.
You got it, though, which is cool and important.
100%. Nothing against Glover's career.
Yeah.
Glover's a tough MFer.
I'm glad he stuck around and finally got it. It's kind of a feel-good story for the UFC.
But the truth is, there's a new king in 205, and you're going to find that out.
There's always a new kid on the block you got to beat.
Yeah, dude, 205 used to be literally the best division in the UFC for years. Rampage, Lydell, Tito, Lyoto Machida, Shogun. Like, you can go through it. Like, John Jones, obviously. Daniel Cormier. That division was loaded. Thiago Alves, Thiago Santos.
That sucks.
It's terrible now. Yuri's going to bring it back, though.
Yes,
Make light heavyweight great again.
Yeah. La Haga.
So I guess we'll talk more about what they'll do the next time when they fight. When we get into after next week's show, we'll talk about who's next after all 3 of these things happen. Because I'm telling you, mark your cards. Valentina, Joanna, and Yuri. a 3-fight parlay. You can even take the under in a share fight. I'll even tell you to take the under in a Johanna fight. Make it a 5-fight parlay. Sprinkle like 10, $20 on it. Win yourself 500, and then hit me up with a little $25 donation to WIRE2WIRE Sports Podcast. And no one's arguing. My 5-fight parlay hits, though. We're going to be happy.
All right.
Anything else UFC that you guys want to talk about before we get into the Belmont?
It's kind of weird start time, doesn't it?
Is it?
It's in Singapore. I think it's on like the middle of the day.
That sucks.
Oh, one of those?
I think so.
One of those.
Pretty sure. I'll double check it. I know they're in Singapore, so either that or they're fighting like 4 o'clock in the morning over there.
I mean, I guess that's fine. I get to see Valentina fight and then go have dinner or something.
Let's see, UFC.
Come on, good. Come on, Bill. Come on, Bill.
Doesn't have time. It just says pay-per-view.
I really want to know this now. Mike,
10 p.m.
get on it.
10 p.m. I got it.
Yeah.
Yes, let's go.
Your normal start time.
Bill is wrong again.
Wasn't wrong. I mean, they're in Singapore.
I'm kidding.
I just wonder how far ahead Singapore is time-wise.
They're fighting 5 a.m.
Might be.
I don't know. All right, we go. I want to get into Belmont because I want to take the rest of the show with Deshaun Watson after that.
They're plus 8 hours.
All right, so the main event will be happening around, like, I don't know.
Morning.
No, 4 p.m. Plus 8. They're plus 8. Oh.
Yeah, so like 8
wow.
o'clock in the morning.
8
Yeah,
a.m.
Yeah, so that's wild.
It's an all-nighter.
An all-night banger in Singapore.
All right, so I want to get into the Belmont. Bill, introduce it for us.
Belmont Stakes. I learned some things about the Belmont today, actually. I didn't know before. Did you know Belmont's actually older than Kentucky Derby?
No, I didn't.
It is. They screwed up on the nickname of the race, though. Did you know that Kentucky's the Run for the Roses?
Yes.
They picked Run for Carnations. I don't know why you would pick that if you had first shot at it, but neither here nor there.
Run for the Carnations.
Swear to God. I mean, it's the longest one. There's a mile and a half, so it's about another, quarter of a mile longer than the Kentucky Derby. There's only 8 horses entered. Belmont Racetrack, Elmont, New York, not Belmont, New York. Another fun fact. Like I said, we only got 8. We have a couple. There's 2 from the Derby that are in it. A couple new horses and a couple of horses that ran the Preakness. So feel free to discuss and start to predict.
No, I have the winner. There's no reason for me to go first.
All right, Kacha, you can go first since Jockey Gene over here.
Listen, I am the Pony Prince, P. Gene A, and the NFL Genius. Got nicknames all day.
A lot.
I know. The Pony Prince.
I'm going with Creative Minister, 6-1.
That's what you get. That's what you get.
I had no idea. Really? Okay.
That's fantastic. I just made my note.
Well, Cottrell, congratulations. You picked the right horse, sir. Creative Minister at 6-1 is the winner. It's also my childhood nickname. I was the Creative Minister. I'm kidding. That's a complete lie. Creative Minister wins the race. He's built for the long haul. I've read about it. I've never seen the course. I couldn't tell you what freaking color he is. I'm assuming brown.
Different color horses.
All right. There's a white one, right?
There's white. They could be gray, brown. Yeah. The dark browns are actually called chestnuts, I think.
I like it.
I think you have black horses.
Never seen them.
You're very prejudicial on the horses.
Yeah, I just assume most of them are brown horses.
Yeah, you're saying they all look the same. Is that what you're saying?
Come on, bro.
It's fine. It's fine.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
It's fine.
Are you going with Creative Minister also?
I'm not. He's
going
in my
for the sweep.
He's in my superfecta though.
Okay, let's hear your superfecta.
I'm going Mo Donegal. Was closing actually faster the last 100 yards than any other horse in the Kentucky Derby. So got a really bad run the Derby. Got a little sandwich in the middle of the pack. Once he finally got clear, he was actually running faster down the stretch than both Rich Strike and Epicenter were. So only 8 horses. I don't think there's any way he gets trapped. He's coming from the middle of the pack. He'll be outside off the lead, coming around that 4th turn. I think he's got enough to get it done, so I'm going Mo Donegal.
What's the odds on Mo Donegal?
He's like 5-2, I think, something like that.
7-2.
7-2.
Better odds.
Yeah, it's even better.
I will tell you this: there's one horse that I really wanted to take, and I think he's the biggest underdog in the whole race. Skippy Longstocking.
Nah, I got don't pick that horse.
Why?
Because I mean, they got smoked in the Preakness too.
Did he?
Now that I say that, I'll probably come in freaking second because that's the way it works.
I was thinking
but-
that Skippy Longstocking would come in second. So I'd go Creative Minister, Skippy Longstocking.
I'm going my superfecta. I'm going
Yeah.
Mo Donegal. I'm going Rich Strike, who's going to get passed at the end. I'm going Nest, number 3, the Philly. Very good horse. Very good.
I got to root for Phillies because they're Phillies.
Very good bloodline. Came from curling.
Good bloodline.
Listen, bro.
I love
it matters.
Sally's breaking it down.
Uh,
It's got a great bloodline.
she's Philly. Listen, she was sired by Curlin, who's a great long distance runner. So, and for to round out the superfecta, I'm going with Creative Minister.
Yeah, I'm gonna even my superfecta.
There's
I'm
no
going-
money in this race, by the way.
Creative Minister is gonna win the race, followed by Skippy Longstocking. Third is going to be We the People running in the 1 pole, and then fourth is going to be Rich Strike. Would you like to take any shot at a superfecta, Petro?
I mean, I guess I'll go off the top of the head here. I'll go Creative Minister. Then we'll go Nest at 2. We the People at 3. Rounding out, it's going to be Mo Donegal.
Oh, Mo Donegal in my top 4.
Might be a mistake.
Might be
Might be a
because you
mistake.
know more about horses than I do.
Got 5th at the Derby.
It was a Philly.
Fifth of the Derby was closing.
I should be rooting for Phillies.
Nest is a filly.
Is it?
The filly horse. It means the female horse.
I don't really know that.
Well, that's what filly means.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
The more you know.
Yeah, like I need that. Like throw that on the screen. The more you know. All right. I'm glad we have time for this because this is a conversation I wanted to have. And it's going to get really funny. It's going to get weird.
I mean,
Put the kids to bed.
so this shouldn't be a funny conversation,
You're probably right. But
if we're being honest.
fuck it.
All right.
Oh, boy.
Deshaun Watson has had a ton more come out. And now, and it's really interesting now that he's not a Houston Texan, that the Houston Texan stuff comes out, like the NDAs and like the management ownership group being in on it, like understanding what's going on. Shall I break it down? I know you've read like 6 articles on this today.
No, like all right, like there is 3 distinct facets to this, like parts of this. The one we caught light of today, which absolutely is the Houston Texans, what they knew, what some would even say they encouraged, what they helped with. There has to be repercussions for them somewhere down the road. You factored in with
100%.
with everything else that's happened with that organization the last 2 years, with the stuff, not only with Deshaun Watson, with other players saying there was, racial bias from the ownership group and the front office, so forth and so on. I know we have to finish the old Daniel Snyder investigation in Washington. As soon as that's over, they can get in their plane and they go to Houston and they can start there. That needs to be addressed. There's problems there with that ownership group. Secondly, we have to go. I'll go Cleveland first. I'll go Cleveland and NFL are in the same grouping for me. I find it very hard to believe that this reporter from the New York Times had more money and more resources and more connections to find out more about these women than the NFL and the Cleveland Browns did. So that to me means A, they didn't really give a shit. B, they did the bare minimum to say they investigated it. And C, we're going to go right back to what we've talked about on the show before. The NFL gives 2 shits about women, which, fine. At the end of the day, your core audience is 98% male. I get it. That's who pays your bills. That's who makes you billions and billions and billions of dollars every year. But stop acting like you give a shit then. Just own it and be what it is. Like we've seen it over and over. Ray Rice is going to get suspended from practice pretty much till the video came out, knocking her out cold in the elevator, which the NFL knew existed and knew about it. Greg Hardy literally threw his girlfriend on the bed on a bed full of guns and said, pick which one I'm killing you with, got suspended 3 games. You can go all the way back to Ben if you want, who pretty much raped a woman in a bathroom, and he got, 6, I think?
Yep.
6. Let's just stop fronting. Let's just say what it is. They don't care. Stop acting like you do. Stop insulting everybody's intelligence who watches the NFL, so forth and so on. Cleveland's in a very tricky spot now. I don't think there's with a shadow of doubt now that Deshaun Watson's not getting suspended. I wouldn't be surprised for the whole year. At my point, it then becomes, does Cleveland bite the PR bullet and stick behind him or try to find a way to get out of that contract? That is what the interesting thing for me becomes. Cotrell probably have more light on that because it's his team. So I don't want to speak too much to that. I'm assuming Cotrell will touch on it. The last thing is Deshaun Watson. He has a problem. He has a problem that was not only enabled by a team, it's a problem he needs help with. He came out with the statement at the beginning of this saying it was about 40 women over the course of 5 years. We're now 66 in the last 17 months. That's a huge difference. Huge difference.
So that's like almost like a new woman a week. And like the more concerning parts. So just let me be clear. I literally went all in on the Deshaun Watson front, having his back and literally saying, let's innocent until proven guilty.
Yep.
I think this new line of evidence and this new line of everything that's coming out is got me to switch my opinion. And I hate doing that because I love Deshaun Watson as a football player. I also think a lot of players do get put in very precarious situations that they might not have earned. I think Deshaun Watson's earned this one. Now, let me give you a little bit of a breakdown and of like my thought process on it. And then Cotrell, I'm sure you'll speak to it. I understand a body rub versus a massage. He's getting body rubs from women, massages with happy endings. RJ Kaler posts a quote from his lawyer. It's not illegal to receive happy endings. He's openly searching for women that have no qualifications with being masseuses. And like being like, it doesn't matter. You don't really need to ever give massages before.
Some are, though. Some are. And
some are.
Yeah, correct.
Just come over and rub me. And then like that is where I feel like it gets to the point. And I think, and it just, my educated guess would be, most of them understood what a body rub meant before they got there. Most of them understood what he was paying and what he was getting and what they were going to be not required to do, but what they were expected to do. I think what ends up happening is there's a few that didn't know that. And I think out of 66, you can safely assume there's probably 10 to 15 of them that didn't know what they were walking into. They were naive enough to not understand that, hey, he's giving me $1,000 for a 1 hour massage, 1 hour body rub. It's a huge difference. Like literally, and I go all the way back to Backpage. They had a massage section, they had a body rub section. You went in a massage section, you were getting a massage therapist. You went in a body rub section, you were getting your body rubbed. Just what it was. There's a huge difference.
I think this goes back to the first time we talked about this when the original 21 or whatever came out. I think we all agreed some of these women were probably
doing it for money.
Either doing it for money or at least knew kind of what they were getting into. I was also of the point, I also said I didn't think all out of the 21, there was no shot that all 21 of these women were lying. That there was no way that was true for me. And I think you just hit it perfectly on the head. I think there was 10 to 15 that went there that were actually massage therapists that thought they were, that have worked with other athletes before, and that's what they thought they were actually going to do. And I think what happened, what transpired from the time these women walked in the door to when they left, I think is a mess. And this situation has gotten messier as we go. Every time you think it's going to end, something like the last 24 hours comes out, and now we're in a worse spot than we were before. The NDA thing to me is alarming. Alarming.
Alarming is an understatement.
Alarming. If you going into these meetings, then what you're asking for, what you're expecting, what you're hoping to get, if you were asking either masseuses or body rub people to sign NDAs not
body
to talk
rub
about
people.
it.
He's messaging IG models.
Yeah, like
an argument.
Like, come on. I mean,
and those girls, I don't necessarily think that they're walking in blind. I think there's legitimate massage, just an opinion, legitimate massage therapists that were walking into these situations blind.
Right.
And I think that from everything I read, I think that he initiated, engaged, expected, and what would be the right word? Try to persuade them into.
Yeah, the persuasion, depending on which of the women you talk to, was different things. I mean, the other alarming thing that, to me when I read the article today was 2 of the women that came forward that this reporter from the New York Times found never came forward to sue, never came forward to press criminal charges. Their stories all matched. They weren't seeking anything out of this. Like, that point, to me, those 2 women have no reason to lie whatsoever. Like, they didn't even want to be found. Again, you're talking about a different state and different things. I don't know what's going to happen going forth criminally. I don't think there's any shot he plays football this year.
I want to hear Cottrell's.
No, I do too. I mean, it's
Cottrell.
I'll say that I think it's interesting to see what the NFL will do. That part of it, I have no clue. I don't think he gets suspended for the whole year, especially given that a lot of the proceedings, like court proceedings, are going to happen until next year. I do think they're probably going to put him on the NFL, like the commissioner's exempt list, probably for the indefinitely. But I think he's going to just keep fighting it. Maybe he gets 8 games here. But a part of me also thinks that why not just take if you're going to get suspended for a full season, don't do 8 this year and then next season has to do the full season or whatever.
I think he knows what's coming, Cottrell. I think that's why the $1 million contract for year 1 is what it is.
I agree.
And Cleveland's going to take blowback for this now.
100%. But I want to let him finish. I'm sorry.
I was going to say too that I think the interesting thing too is that Gene I was kind of on the same page with you. When we first got the news, it really felt like the timing of everything. Deshaun Watson wanting out. It seemed like there was just these stories that were coming out to just tarnish his name, his legacy, not getting people to want him, things like that. Now, looking at the complete picture, I think more of it is the Texans owner. I mean, of course, we see it now that the story broke today, but Texans owner, they knew about everything, and they're like, all right, well, we know everything. We're going to find these people. We're going to get them to, testify, do this, do that, make sure, this goes in our favor. And then I feel like even then, I don't think they knew to the magnitude of how many people it was. But if it's true with them signing NDAs and the Texans owners providing facilities and things like that, Bob McNair's going to have to sell the team. I think that's as simple as it's going to be. I also think I think where this gets tricky, and I definitely think Deshaun gets suspended. I think where it gets tricky though is that with there not being anything criminally filed and he's been cleared, of all these charges, I don't know where, the NFLPA and Deshaun Watson's attorneys are going to try and draw that line. I think them and Roger Goodell, they're going to have to come to some sort of agreement. And I think it's ultimately going to be a year suspension. I just don't know if it's going to be all 16 right now. But I mean, it's unprecedented times for sure.
Yes.
I think it'd be interesting to see if you knew everything you knew now back in January when you were inquiring about Deshaun Watson and you kind of made it clear that, you didn't want Baker Mayfield back as your quarterback. Do you still make the same decisions? And does Deshaun Watson still garner all the interest that he did prior to us knowing everything now?
I'm going to tell you right now, there's no chance in the world that the Cleveland Browns, the Atlanta Falcons, the New Orleans Saints didn't know this. These are multi-billion-dollar corporations. And a writer at the New York Times is going to find out more about the situation than them? No way. There's no way. I think I
don't think they cared.
No, that's my point.
That's where the
which is why I think that they signed. Bro, it's going to look even worse because the $1 million contract for first year. That looks even worse now. Like, oh, we know he's getting suspended for a year.
Yep.
You know the ones.
Yep.
Like, I think that is what makes it more alarming to me. I think Cleveland wanted a franchise quarterback so bad that they didn't care.
Nope.
And I completely agree with your point that Bob McNair needs to sell a team. I will make a statement, and this statement's going to be on TikTok. It'll be on Instagram. It'll be anywhere I can put it. If you cannot find a worse group of human beings than the NFL owners meetings, because the NFL owners, is the group of the most ridiculous, scummy individuals in the world. I'm not saying they're all bad.
I say not all. I mean, that's definitely some, though, yes.
I mean, you can go through a list of them, man.
I agree.
If you there's a ton of them. And
it's an old boys club, man.
100%.
That's what it is.
And you have Dan Schneider, Bob McNair, Jerry Jones at the top of that list.
Well, here's the good part. I mean, it'll be, I think it's a very realistic expectation to think by the end of this season, there's going to be 2 more NFL franchises for sale. So that would be.
Especially after what the Broncos got. $4.6 billion.
Got that Walmart money.
I feel like that you're going to see that a little bit more. I think you'll see a couple more franchises forced to sell.
I'm fine with it, man. I mean, listen, I think Deshaun is going to bear the brunt of this, and he should. But, I mean, I think this is enough. Like, I meant what I said. I think when they're done with Snyder, they need to get right on a plane and go to Houston and start with them. Like, this isn't the first thing either.
I don't fully understand with Watson. I get, proclaiming your and things like that. For me, I just don't get, like, he knows how many women he's dealt with in, the past 17 months, whatever. Like, he knew at some point this was going to come out and more people were going to come forward, things like that. He hasn't even made an attempt to try and settle anything. Like, he's dragging everything out as much as he can. And, we're getting more information that just shows more and more that he's guilty of this. Like, I think it'd be a completely different thing if he had got out in front of it and kind of said,
I felt like his lawyer was doing a hell of a job until his last statement.
That was, when somebody told me that, I literally thought it was a joke.
I thought it was on The Onion.
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly where I thought it came from. Like, there's no way. And Rusty Hardin is a very prominent attorney. I was like, there's no way Rusty Hardin went out and said that.
The truth is, when you have that many and you have that many people admitting it and Deshaun Watson admitting it, you got to spin it some way.
I guess.
Well, it's not illegal to get a happy ending. That's what he said.
Illegal to try to get a happy ending when they say no.
That is correct. Let's get into You Gotta Be Kidding Me. Trail starts off.
All right, so mine this week is a series of tweets that happened yesterday from one of the best female sprinters in America, Sha'Carri Richardson.
Are you stealing mine for a second?
Sha'Carri Richardson, for those of you who don't know, she's the one who got in trouble for, smoking marijuana before the Olympics, and she was forced to miss the Olympics. But she just this past day, she was attacking the USA track and field page about, not using her name or her image for clickbait. And literally all the tweet said was that she was going up against, one medalist in the Olympics, Gabby Thomas. And that's it. Like, there was no malice behind it. I wouldn't say it's clickbait. They were just putting out information. If you want to be one of the best sprinters in the world, your name's going to be talked about by a track and field page. If you're running the type of times that Sha'Carri Richardson is running, you're going to be featured on the track and field page. It's just how it is. Maybe you're not built for the limelight. That's fine. Don't go out attack these organizations for literally promoting you and just, saying that your talents are going to be showcased on the national stage. So Sha'Carri Richardson, you 100% need a PR team because you haven't handled anything right since the Olympics happened. And that's ultimately probably going to cost you a lot of money in the long run, because there are going to be a lot of sponsors that want no business to do with you just because of they don't know if they'll be able to trust you in front of a mic or just with any reporters or anything like that. So this week for me, Sha'Carri Richardson.
Come on, you gotta be kidding me.
Go ahead, Uncle Showie.
Someone's got to get a hold of her, man. Like, she was literally on, like, the precipice of, like, doing everything like she ever dreamed of. And she's literally just jumped off the cliff. I don't get it. I am also going to Twitter for my You Gotta Be Kidding Me this week. This came from a tweet from the Washington Commanders. I got it right. Defensive coordinator Jack Del Rio yesterday. Listen, I'll say this. I think we live in a very complex world, and I think the NFL locker room is even more so. I'm all for people, saying what you believe in, what you stand for, so forth and so on. But I think we can all agree the NFL locker room is a very diverse place between coaches, players, trainers, whoever. Jack Del Rio tweeted yesterday pretty much complaining about the January 6th committee and saying how it was, I don't know why we were getting so worked up about it, just a dust up. But then could have left it there, which was bad and cringy by itself. And then proceeded to make more tweets asking, why nobody was investigating all the Black Lives Matters things that happened in Missouri and Minnesota and all the stuff during the unrest last year. And then doubled down on it again yesterday afternoon, pretty much saying, he respects everybody and blah, blah, blah. Well, if you tweet things like that, then you don't respect other people. I'm also not sure how you, with a straight face, walked into your practice facility today and looked at certain people in your locker room. And I'm assuming it was an issue because I just read the headline that he apologized for it at this afternoon's press conference. You can't call something where people lost their lives a dust up, number one. That's a joke. Number two, you are an assistant coach on a team with predominantly African-American players in your locker room. To think that nobody in that locker room was going to have an adverse effect to your statements is naive, and I'll just call it what it is. It's dumb. And you probably paid the price for it today. If somebody definitely got in your ear and made you apologize for it, and I know you don't believe it. I see right through that. It's a typical BS political, cover your ass apology. I know you don't believe it. I think you showed your true colors with your tweets. So for that this week, Jack Del Rio.
Come on, you gotta be kidding me.
It's a good one. I think that saying it's a blip on the radar is absolutely disgusting for basically whatever happened on January 6th. Mine, not that similar, but Stephen A. Smith is mine this week, and he was on First Take, and he was talking about Russell Westbrook. And he said him being at the press conference yesterday to introduce Lakers' new head coach. Actually, to me, I didn't like it, and without giving away too much of the reasoning. JJ Redick responded with, "You said a random take, and then you explained a bunch of things about Russell Westbrook that had nothing to do with that take. What is your issue with Russell Westbrook being at that press conference?" CJ McCollum followed up and said, "That's a wild thing for you to say. Him supporting his team, his organization, his coach, a fellow African-American man that gets hired by the Los Angeles Lakers. And this is what you said? You said that him going to a press conference, you're disappointed in that? Run the tape. We got the tape. That's what you said. Even if you didn't mean it the way you said it, you said that he shouldn't have been at the press conference, and that's foul." Kevin Durant added on to this, said, "I'm tuned in now. I'm listening now." Stephen A. Smith says a lot of really stupid shit. Just does. He does.
He does.
He's in a very prominent position at ESPN, but he says a lot of really dumb things. I think the greatest thing ESPN ever did was get JJ Redick, who has a very prominent, great podcast, by the way. You're not listening. The Old Man and the Three, great podcast. Free promotion. Awesome podcast. But getting him on ESPN, because he has done nothing but be absolutely gold. Now getting CJ McCollum in there, signing him there for a year, he's sounded great also. It makes me want to listen to ESPN more and more during shows like this. Stephen A., you really got to watch what you say. And Russell Westbrook is a member of the Los Angeles Lakers. They pay him a lot of money, and he's at a press conference supporting his coach. With that, this week, Stephen A. Smith.
Come on, you gotta be kidding me.
Any final thoughts, gentlemen?
I just have to give my sister props. She got Texas making the finals of the Women's College Softball World Series, and game 1 is tonight. I don't know who's winning that game. But
It was a 2-1 Oklahoma early.
there you go. So she got her she got both picks right. She's praying for a Texas victory in the best of 3. I don't know if she's going to get
Oklahoma's
that.
up 7-1 now.
It's 7-1 now because that's what they do. But yeah, man, gotta give her credit where credit's due. She got it right.
Awesome stuff. Control.
And then I'll say that one of my favorite times of the year is here. You got the nationals for track and field for college. Gonna be a lot of crazy times to be put up. And one of the names to look out for, Matthew Bowling, sprinter. I think he's gonna go sub 10, and he's on the national stage at this upcoming track meet. So tune in all week for that.
Sub 10's impressive.
Well, I have nothing for you guys this week. So appreciate everybody tuning in. Download us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, iTunes. Follow us on TikTok. Download, share, whatever you can do. Thank you very much for everyone listening. And for this week, it's WIRE2WIRE Sports Podcast, signing out.